Any spending review is big news, but 2025 is really important. This multi-year settlement will take us through to the end of this Parliament. Labour's electoral chances next time depend on whether it works. There is still plenty of detail yet to be revealed. With transport, we do not yet have the detailed breakdown of expenditure as between rail, highways, buses, and all the other elements of the department's settlement, but we do have the high-level big numbers. In terms of day-to-day spending, so not including capital, the Department for Transport is not a big hitter when compared to the really big spenders, such as health, education and defence. This year, they've all done well. Furthermore, day-to-day spending, so-called Resource Departmental Expenditure Limit or DEL, is going to come under pressure at the Department for Transport. According to the Treasury, Resource DEL funding falls in real terms over the period, primarily driven by a declining rail passenger services subsidy as passenger ridership and revenue continue to recover post-COVID and efficiencies and savings are made through public ownership. That resource funding fall is a worrying 5% reduction in real terms each year of the spending review. And since no one really believes that there are that many savings to be made through public ownership of the railways in reality, it could mean tough times ahead. Comparing the change in real terms for total DEL, that's day-to-day spending plus capital spend and after taking inflation into account, between now and 2029, then with HS2 excluded, it's clear. Transport and the railways have lost out compared to others. HS2 is treated separately, and 25.3 billion has been provided to progress delivery of HS2 from Birmingham Curzon Street to London Euston. According to the government, this funding will support the full reset of the HS2 programme under the leadership of their new chief executive. That slightly opaque language will, we hope, make more sense when we see just what his so-called reset entails. Away from HS2, the Chancellor says she's putting more money into some big schemes, such as £3.25 billion for the TransPennine Route Upgrade. Though that is a project already well underway, and the money is presumably just for the next tranche of funding. Welcome though that is, to stop that project now would be madness, even if it's not entirely clear how it's ended up costing as much as it has. There's £2.5 billion for East West Rail, again, a project that has been in construction for a number of years. It's good news the commitment remains for future development, but it's hardly a new scheme. The Midlands Rail Hub is continuing its development, but again, a lack of detail in the government's announcement means we don't yet know what the government have actually committed to. Then there's the eye-catching £15.6 billion for light rail and other transport schemes for mayoral combined authorities in the Midlands, West of England and the North. But the funding is almost identical to that announced by the previous government when they cancelled HS2 to Manchester. Admittedly, that was indicative funding, but Labour paused the schemes for a full review in 2024, and they've now restarted them, just with unchanged numbers. Wales does seem to have got some new money, £300 million to include such things as new stations, North Wales level crossing upgrades, and Cardiff West Junction. But it's a far cry from the billions that some politicians there wanted, whether they were justified in saying they were entitled to it or not. Transport for London has got confirmation of a 4-year funding settlement, which the government says includes £2 billion between 2026-27 and 2029-30 for Transport for London's Capital Renewals Programme. But there does not appear to be anything committed for new Bakerloo line trains yet, something desperately needed. The Chancellor did say that the government would be announcing a strategy for Northern Powerhouse Rail over the next few weeks as part of the government's 10-year infrastructure strategy. And although it is expected that the government will give a new railway from Liverpool to Manchester the green light, the detail will be scrutinised very carefully. What of other projects? Well, it seems there's nothing for a rolling programme of electrification, nothing for reopening closed railway lines other than the ones we already knew about, and nothing either to take forward the mayors of Greater Manchester and West Midlands plans for a successor to the now cancelled HS2 route between Birmingham and Manchester. Maybe that will also be referenced in the 10-year infrastructure strategy. We'll have to wait and see, but overall, there's very little that's new beyond what is already underway or was previously known about. The spending review also targets operational efficiency within the Department for Transport itself, mandating at least 5% savings via reform, modernisation, and the adoption of artificial intelligence. According to the Treasury, the DFT is set to become a smaller, more skilled, and more agile department. Given the countless times that successive governments have announced its departments are going to become more professional, more commercial, and more agile, no one is likely to be holding their breath. One could argue that in the context of the need for greater spending on defence, the seemingly bottomless pit that is the National Health Service, the desire to address social housing stock, and a whole host of other priorities, then holding on to HS2 spend, even if it does get reset, the TransPennine Route Upgrade, East-West Rail, and the monies for light rail and other schemes outside of London, even if they're not strictly new, then transport hasn't fared too badly. But in terms of providing long-term predictable capital programs that will drive down unit costs, such as a rolling program of electrification, giving confidence to the supply chain that the days of boom and bust are behind us, that the railways will be able to become more resilient in the face of climate change, that overall, the funding will be in place to enable rail to increase its share of all journeys made. Then once the dust has settled from the announcement of the spending review and hard realities bite, this spending review could sadly prove a disappointment for many.